welcome to Tim Kirby Russia, where I, extremely ill insider, radio talk show host, and political analyst within Russia, tell you about how things look from a Russian perspective. I'm sorry, guys, I am very under the weather. I am sweating here. I have a temperature, but the show must go on. And today's big guest is Kris Roman, who is a self-described Belgian Russophile. And today I'll talk to you a little about what it is to be a Russophile. And then we're going to get onto talking to Kris about everything that he does and his views about the role of Russia in the future of Europe and beyond. So let's get to that. Yeah. So who are the Russophiles? Essentially, that's sort of some umbrella term for anyone who is somewhat active in their professional life that really sees that there is a benefit to friendship and partnership with Russia. And unfortunately, because of the paranoia that the world is in today, this could be kind of a dangerous position. I know some people who have contributed to material to Russian websites, just writing their honest opinion, no filters, not fulfilling some sort of order, who've written for many Russian, news or media sources, and now they've started to get knocks on the door from certain governmental bodies, which is very scary. One thing that people may also think is that, well, you, Tim, you jerk, you probably get a ton of money for doing everything that you do in Russia. I'm sure it's... No, I don't. I'm not living the high life. There's no Ferrari. There's no nothing. I think the source of where this Russophile club comes from, of people who get excited about Russia, is because we're lied to our entire lives about Russia. A lot of people hear one thing their entire life about Russia, how it's evil. I'm a child of the Cold War, so I had more of the Cold War stereotypes of Russia. And then you come here and everything's different. Everything is a lie. Everything is a myth. It's almost like back in the old days how there's those videos where Carl Sagan would talk about how if two-dimensional shapes existed in a two-dimensional world, how weird it would be for them to see the third dimension, the flatlanders.
Let's imagine that we are perfectly flat. I mean absolutely flat. And that we live, appropriately enough, in a flatland.
To sort of describe how weird it would be for us if there was a fourth dimensional being in the room with us.
From their point of view, he has mysteriously appeared from nowhere. He hasn't walked from somewhere else. He's come from some other place. They say, for heaven's sake, what's happened to you? And the poor square has to say, well, I was in some other mystic dimension called up.
Okay, and in a lot of ways, you feel like you've been one of those two-dimensional creatures plucked from a two-dimensional plane and brought out into the third dimension once you've come to Russia and you've seen that, oh my gosh, every historical event has this other angle or interpretation. History is different, reality is different. I'm not talking about like modern history, I'm talking about even ancient history. Everything here is different. There is certainly at least two ways to fry a fish when you started living here. And it's very hard to go back from that, especially if you're someone who works in some sort of intellectual capacity. You really then are able to look back and see, wow, in the West, we have the blinders on. We cannot see anything outside of this narrow, focused view of history. In fact, that's even part of the problem of where this whole, Antifa and BLM and intersectional feminism and all this other sort of really, really hippie liberal nonsense comes from, is it makes sense to people who only have an extremely narrow, naive view of history based solely on the experience of the United States and maybe Western Europe, and then sometimes not even Western Europe. But guess what, guys? When you get outside of that bubble, everything looks a lot different. And the arguments for everything become very different. Basically, it opens you up to a new world. And when you've been exposed to this new reality, you want to invite other people into it. And I can tell you one thing. I have a problem, the same problem that all of you do. We're not going to live 10,000 years, because I'm absolutely sure that if I were to go and live in an Arab-speaking country, or if I were to go and live in China, and take the time, like another 15 or 20 years, to really learn the language, really understand the culture, I wouldn't be surprised if I would open new dimensions. Maybe there's actually like an Arabic dimension that I can't see, right? Or a Chinese dimension. And I bet they're out there. But the problem is we don't live long enough. My destiny is to sort of understand this dimension, barring some sort of weird job offer from the Chinese. If you guys are willing to pay, I'll show up. But anyways, to help you again understand, a Russophile is someone who's been exposed to this new reality and they don't want to go back. And that reality comes from Russia. Anyways, let's have a chit-chat with Kris Roman, self-described Belgian Russophile. Okay, Kris, many people have become very excited about today's Russia, Putin's Russia. So excited they spread information that they become these sort of Russophile people. But, man, your life is in Belgium. This is, you spend all your time in Belgium, you live in the West. What's with this crusade for Russia?
There are two. My answer has two parts. The first of all, I don't like injustice. I don't like when people lie. Even when the truth is hard or nice, say the truth or shut up. In English, yes. And I see that the media are lying a lot of times. And I discovered when I was young and the Russian wall fell down, the Soviet wall fell down, so there was no more Cold War. I discovered later that they told a lot of lies about the Soviet Union. And we were very scared at the end for nothing. And today I see the same. So I like the truth. The second part of my answer is, the first part of my answer is objective, but the second part of my answer is subjective. It means ask a guy why he loves so much his wife, his partner. Why? You cannot answer. Because she's beautiful. There are a lot of beautiful women. So why her? Because she has a good character. A lot of women has a good character. That's not the point. I think that why I can say in love with Russia is irrational. You cannot explain it by the mind. And that's the same. If you want to understand, that's what the Russians say, you cannot understand Russia by the head, only by the heart. And I am in this way. When I'm in Russia, for example, like now, today, I feel good here. When I am in the West, because the changing mentality, the changing of situations in the West, and especially in Belgium, I can say, in Russia, we say depressive, depresniak. Really, and a lot of people in the West are really we can say, in soft depression. And the coronavirus situation with the pandemic and so on didn't help us. For example, this is also part of the answer, but it comes later. 30% of the Belgians are official in depression. So, now to answer for a Russophile, for guys like us, who could not come to Russia more than 1 year because we had not the good documents or simply the borders are closed. Russians come to Belgium, Belgians go to Russia. It was a very hard time for us. Very hard. But the question why we do this, when I say it is a kind of fanatism, like the fan of football, of soccer in the United States, like we had for Real Madrid or for Manchester United or Anderlecht in Belgium, for example. It is mostly, I think, the same love we have. You can compare the the love for Russia. You can really compare it to the love of a man for his woman, or for a fanat of football for his team.
Well, that love comes at a price when it's a love for Russia. I've never heard of anyone losing their job because they're a fan of Juventus or Arsenal or Liverpool or whatever. So what kind of activities do you actually do, and what forms of repression have you faced for your beliefs?
First of all, I think I'm glad that I live in Belgium and not, for example, in Poland, because in Poland, people know that our friend Mateusz Piskorski was a few years in jail, at the end for nothing, only because he loves Russia. He was in jail. So our friend in France, Hubert Fayard, who leads the representation of Donetsk, DNR, in France, was 6 months in jail by a kind of false flag. Also, they sent a woman to him, and all the story. In Belgium, it is not that point. But what can I say now? When I go to Belgium in beginning of March, I have to speak with people from government who has to check who are checking the financial ways. Because 2 years ago, in October, 2 years and a half ago, almost, I became how you say it, the representative of DNR in Belgium. And 20 years I am busy with Russia. I have all the times Russian flag outside of my house. There was almost no problem. There was control of the police, yes, but that's all. And now that I'm busy with DNR, the first question became from a journalist. Mr. Roman, from where is your money? And now, from the Belgian state, it is forbidden to receive money from terrorist organizations. I can, by the law, I can follow. I agree even, by principle, I agree. But Russia is not a terroristic state because Belgium has an embassy here. So there is no problem. Everything is legal. Second point, I never get 1 ruble from Russia, not from the DNR. In the opposite, it cost me money, what I do. So this is a very clear answer. But now I have to speak with the police because somebody did a complaint by the police that I work for FSB and I give secret lessons to FSB. I receive money from FSB, and we had a phone call. I had a phone call with Belgium, and they say, "Come here to Belgium and explain me what you are doing." So I don't expect that I go to jail and all this stuff, no. But again, I have to go to the office. I have to lose my time with this stuff. Second point, what I can say, your question was what I do in Belgium with this Russophilia. Yeah? From the beginning, I organize conferences, and the theme is Europe and Russia. All the time, this item is Europe and Russia, and because I found Eurorus a long time ago, and the goal was that we build bridges between all European people with Russia from Gibraltar to Vladivostok. So in principle, Eurorus doesn't exist anymore now because the name changed. It is Center for Euro-Russian Studies. We changed the name. But, this organization is in fact a Pacific organization. We don't want war. We want friendship between all people. It's what we spoke a long time ago. It is in every country you find nice people. In every country of the world. In Asiatic part, in the Africa, in the, let's say, the European, American part of the world, why there is so much war in the world when there are so much good people? Yeah? So the question is, we make propaganda for peace with Russia. And yes, we make propaganda that in reclame propaganda, we don't like the occupation of American army in Europe openly, and we don't like NATO. We prefer an Euro-Russian army. We organized about these items, we organized conferences, round tables. I was with people free, no money, with people in Russia. I showed them, please, this is Russia. Come with me. I speak Russian, so no problem. We had website, we make interviews, we have a YouTube channel.
Okay, you're very unhappy with the American army being in Europe, but then again, you seem kind of okay with the Russian army being there. I mean, isn't that just kind of a bit hypocritical? I mean, Europe being occupied by one foreign power or another foreign power, what's the difference?
No, I don't want occupation. I am a Flemish guy in Belgium, and you have to understand the Belgian situation. Some Flemish people are separatists, like Scotland, like Catalonia, and Flemish people who are separatists, they consider Belgium, artificial state, like an occupant. One thing, I don't want any strange army in my country. I think that in Belgium must be Belgian police, Belgian army, and nothing more. And this is very good because, be honest, you know Russia also very well, and the Russian government, Russian army, they don't want occupied countries in the world. They come to help countries like Syria, but we know that it's very temporary. They will not stay there forever. When the war is over, the Russian army will go back to Russia. That's what I expect. The Russian army was, the Soviet army was till 91, let's say, to Germany, Berlin. But then there were agreements. And what we see, no problem, the Russian army goes back to Russia. And the American army is now in Poland, in Romania, in Bulgaria, and not the Russians anymore. So your question is very right. It means what I blame the Americans, I also don't want that the Russians do it. This is very clear. But I think we can make a kind of Euro-Russian, yes, like NATO, but an Euro-Russian system, and so that every country, every army is ruling in own country. But, for example, if somebody attacks, let's say, Poland, in that case, Belgian army, Russian army, French army, then we can help Poland. The same idea, but not NATO, not with the American occupant. And I want to put the accent on the fact I'm not speaking against American people, because sometimes people don't understand me. This they think that I'm against everything what is American. No. I think you're American. There are also good things in America, I think.
All right, you've mentioned, as a lot of people have, this idea of from Lisbon to Vladivostok as this big, huge axis of trade. Well, as it stands today, there's a huge axis from Warsaw to Seattle, Washington. That's pretty darn big. Why would changing from Seattle to Warsaw over to Lisbon to Vladivostok be so much different, so much more vastly beneficial to Europe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes, this is a very good question. Because I have, let's say, experience. Almost 80 years, the American army is in Europe. I am born in 65, and I remember when I was young, we already had the Hollywood movies. And I don't want to think black-white. There is also the truth sometimes in the middle. And there are good Hollywood films, movies. I agree. But today, what I see on TV today, it is American sub-series. And this is really, how you say it, very bad level. Very bad. This is not culture. This is under the level of culture. When I hear the American music, like I said yesterday, the 50 Cent and all this music, on my radio, I'm a musician. Sorry, but this is not music. This is noise. So, and by the American occupation of Europe, I mean the cultural occupation, I see that our culture is going less and less and less. I don't hear Flemish songs on my radio almost anymore. And that's my problem. My problem is not that there exists American culture. My problem is that in Europe, we don't have only American, we have only American culture. That's all. And to answer to your question, the Russians till today showed that where they go, they respect other people. They don't occupy, they speak. The Russians are more clever on that point, because they say when we speak with a country, they speak, we say it bilateral. It means with respect. They never say we are the occupier. No. They say we are equal. Even small Belgium and very big Russia, around the table, they speak almost like equal level. And I think that the Russians will not destroy our culture like the American occupation did till today.
Okay, well, it seems to me that in a lot of ways, the whole Marshall Plan and a lot of the actions of the United States and Europe during the Cold War and beyond have been to sort of turn the EU into like the United States of Europe, this big melting pot with these different regions that don't particularly matter. Remember, there isn't quite a huge ethnic difference between Wisconsin and Minnesota. So perhaps the United States trying to force Europe into its mold has been very detrimental to Europe. But again, Russia is also very different from Europe. And Russia is this giant, massive land empire going over to be part of this Westphalian nation-state system. Well, that's also going to be pretty darn problematic too, isn't it? And I mean, Russia's attitudes towards certain things like migration and homosexuality are, well, just a bit different from the European status quo. And I think there might be a lot of people who would not be happy living by Russian standards in Brussels.
You think when we build this dream, Paris, Berlin, Moscow, then Russia will be also a little... have something to say in this construction. Yes, that's true. I think that, that's my opinion, that in this Eurasian dream, we can apply a lot of Russian laws. And that means in Russia, if somebody to being gay is not forbidden in Russia. It's forbidden in Saudi Arabia, for example. In pro-American Arab states, it's forbidden, but not in Russia. The only thing what people ask, the people is asking on the street, if you're gay, don't kiss your boyfriend on the street. And this is what I can follow too. You know, I am a youth. I'm absolutely against the gay parades. The gay parades. You say that, yes? Why I am against? Because this is a kind of dirty decadence on the street. But for the same time, I also can say, for example, a hetero couple makes love in the park, I also will be against. Do you have a sexual orientation? Do it home. It's not my business. On the street, you do everything what's allowed and that not will shock my children. For that, children are a good detector. Because when children are shocked with their children heart, natural heart, it means it is not good. And I say, I think that in this Europe will be more conservative than the European Union today. Because you know that the history is like, it's like, how you say it, a clock. It's from left, tack, 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 tack. So, and now in Europe, we go extreme to this left side, extreme, where if you're not gay, you're a bad guy. That's Europe now. I don't know what in the States, but maybe the same there. But I know in Holland, we had the same in the years of 70. It was drugs, sex, rock and roll, gay, everything is good, but conservatism is bad. Today, Holland, the Netherlands, are more conservative than Belgium. Belgium is now very, how you say it, progressive and decadent in this way. And I think in Europe, people will get enough from this mafia of abnormal people, of not normal people. I call it the mafia of not normal people. So, and with Russia, we will find a kind of balance. Don't forget, please, that the Spanish society, Italian, Poland, all these countries are still conservative, more or less. Because there they are Catholic, dus Christian, and in Russia Orthodox. So there is a kind of spiritual balance. So minorities will not suffer, like the minorities will not suffer in Russia today. I was a few years with my daughter in a restaurant, and I saw that three of this, how you say, the officiant, that they were gay. And I'm an open mind. I'm not gay, and I don't like gay parades. But I spoke with the guy. The officiant, and I say, I see that you are gay. Tell me, please, is there a gay hunt on you in Russia? They say, not at all. We have our community, and we don't disturb others, and they don't disturb us. So, what's the problem here? And that's why everything is very fine, and it works. And because the nature says, if you want to exist as a people, you need women and men and children. Without this, your people is dying. So this must be the majority of people. And one point, when we go back to the old Greece and the old Rome, one of the best artists in that time were the gay people. But it was 1 on 100 or 1 on 1,000. And on the podium, they brought wonderful theater, for example, wonderful sketches. And nobody was shocked by it, because we know, okay, this guy is gay, but he didn't push his orientation to others. He went to home and he disturbed nobody. In Russia, it's the same. I know musicians, because I'm a musician, I know musicians who are on TV, and we know they are gay. We know it. You know them maybe too. But they have no problem. They come to, večerinka, to evenings, to parties, and we say, oh, you're a good musician. And if people didn't tell me, I even didn't know it. So you see the behavior. If some hetero has a special fantasy, for example, he likes to make love with jam. With jam, for example. It's stupid what I say. If can you imagine that all the guys who wants to make love, they put jam on the belly of the jam. It's, you know, on the belly of the wife. Okay, and then they begin to push their orientation with jam to everybody. Oh, you don't like jam? You're not normal. It's ridiculous what I say no, but that's a fact. And no, to answer to your question, no, there will be no minority. In Russia are 180 people, and some of these people, narod, some of these people are with 5,000, and Russia respect them. What is not acceptable, that is what happens in Europe, that a few millions of Africans come to Europe, they occupy the city, they make the cities dangerous for everybody, not only for women, for everybody. This, I am against this. And maybe when this European dream, Russian, Eurasiatic dream, when we can build this, there will be maybe not so much immigration from Africa, that is true. But on the other side, I think that this Europe will be very human. Because I am absolute against immigration in principle, because an immigrant who is coming to Belgium, or he receives money from our state because he doesn't work, or he takes the job of a Flemish guy. For example, when he works in the McDonald's, because their salary is lower than the salary of the Flemish guys, so he takes the job of a Flemish guy. That is true.